Hello, everybody. This is Chris Bird or Monkey Dude 1313, and this is episode 3 of Wishlist Wednesday. In week 1, we went over Sun and Moon Unbroken Bonds, where we were only missing one of the big hits from the set. Otherwise, the set was complete. The second week for Wishlist Wednesday, we did Sword and Shield Lost Origin, where we were missing an unfortunate reverse holofoil. You'll have to go and check out those two videos if you want to see which is which and how close to finishing we were. But this week, for the third week of Wishlist Wednesday, we are starting with a set that is very interesting to me and I feel holds a lot of really fun potential, and that is Sun and Moon Celestial Storm. So what I like about Celestial Storm, aside from it having a lot of very cool cards and featuring a lot of very popular and cool Pokemon that I enjoy, is there are cards in this set that are basically reprints of older sets. And some people view reprints as kind of boring and uninspired, but I actually really like when the reprints are from sets that are old enough that it kind of reinvigorates a certain art piece or a certain card. So I will draw your attention first to this Scyther. Scyther, very cool Pokemon. A lot of people love it. This card looks perfectly standard, perfectly fine for a modern, basic Pokemon card that will be played in a pre-release tournament somewhere. But there's also this card. This card comes from 2005, EX Unseen Forces Gen 3. And you'll notice that these are the exact same card, just with a little bit of changes to them in terms of text and spacing and color. Basically the same card. I'll give a little bit of a glamour shot of the reverse holos from Unseen Forces. Very cool. Got the little Pokeballs in there. But as you can see, same card. And another one that I have quite an affinity for because I really liked playing this Ariados in the deck is the Ariados. And again, its counterpart comes from Unseen Forces. Let's get some focus on these guys so that you can actually see them. It's going to be a pain, isn't it? Yeah, but anyway, basically the same card. I don't know why it's not focusing properly, but there you go. Same card, same ideas, same attacks, just different era, a reprint. Very fun to me. So I'm going to point out a few of the reprints as we go, but that's something that I really enjoyed about this set. I'm certainly not going to point out all of them because there are many. All right, Slugma Macargo here. I have the Slugma from EX Deoxys and the Macargo from EX Deoxys. So as you can see between these two Macargos, this one from Deoxys actually has an extra attack that this one doesn't have. And the wording on Smooth Over has changed. But otherwise, same card. On the Slugma, the HP has changed. But basically everything else is the same. Weakness and resistance are the same. 2 for 20 flare. 1 for Magma Ring 10 where they can't retreat. This Slugma, aside from HP, is the exact same card. Fun facts. Alright. So, Shift 3, quite a fan favorite for the niche that likes Pokemon like Shift 3. And I know that sounds cheesy, but the niche that likes Kabutops, the niche that likes Caesar, the niche that likes kind of the edgy, more aggressive Pokemon seem to really enjoy Shift 3. Alright, continuing on. This Ludicolo, this entire line is from one of the Gen 3 sets as well. And this is actually one of my favorite arts of Ludicolo of all time. So I really appreciate that. This set features Articuno and Blaziken, two more fan favorites. Although this Blaziken does not draw inspiration from any previous cards, it is its own thing. Alright, let's move on. Make sure we're not spending too long. The Electrode is a reprint-ish of a card from Fire Red Leaf Green. And so is this Mr. Mime GX. But we'll get back to Mr. Mime in a little bit. Alright, continuing on. Banette. This Banette, I've made sure, is not a reprint of the old Banette cards. But still very cool. Alright, Onyx here. Let me make sure. Oh, actually, I skipped over something I wanted to talk about. Gulpin and Swalot. They had alternate typing prints in, I believe this is Legend Maker. Or, sorry, Hidden Legends? I think it's Hidden Legends. But same art, basically same attacks, or in this case exactly same attacks, but a different type. At different points during Pokemon's history, they have bundled certain types into the TCG's reduced set of types. For example, is Poison type, which doesn't exist in the TCG, Psychic or Grass? Well, sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other, sometimes it's Dark type. So sometimes the arrow will dictate which type they give a certain in-game type. Other times it will just be at the whim of the designers. All right, moving on to the next page. I pointed out this Onyx before remembering that, and this is a reprint of a card from Neo Genesis. Same art, same attacks, looks very visually different outside of the art box. Man, the camera really won't focus today. But there you go. Very cool. Very cool, very cool. All right, next up, we're going to see, I think, 2 or 3 more before we get onto the shinies. This Caesar, this art specifically, not the full art one, but this art is a reprint-ish of the art I'm going to show on screen here, which I believe is from Unseen Forces. I pulled so many of the Caesar from Unseen Forces back in the day, and then I made the mistake of selling a decent chunk of my collection. Depressing. Quite depressing. Mawile. Mawile is a reprint of the Mawile from Crystal Guardians. This one happened to be a holo, and I very much like these cards. Alright, one final one. The people who played the game at the time will either appreciate or be upset about. Dunsparce. Dunsparce's strike and run ability was a fantastic turn 1 to a lot of decks at the time. At least during EX Sandstorm, when this card came out back in 2003, when I was a wee lad of 11. God, I wish it would focus better. Alright, so moving right along, we're going to get into the trainers here. Copycat, Fisherman, all of these, not all, a lot of these guys, including Apricorn Maker, came from old sets. Apricorn Maker, I believe, came from either Aquapolis or Skyridge. Very cool. Alright, Lure Ball, I'll draw some attention to that one. Lure Ball. The art is a direct pull from Skyridge. Very cool. Some of these, you can still use the old card when these ones are available. Sometimes not, depending on how the wording has changed. And I accidentally put it at the bottom of my stack over here, but Rainbow Energy is a reprint of the EX Team Rocket Rainbow Energy. Same art, not holofoil in this case. Still very cool. Alright, so let's get into the fancy stuff. Shiftry Blaziken, I've talked about those guys already. And here is reveal number 1. One of the nice reveals of this set. Starting with the Articuno. So I had mentioned the Articuno before, but then I mysteriously did not mention it a second time, in terms of it not being a reprint. Because this is an inspired reprint from EX Fire Red Leaf Green. So let's let the camera focus on this guy first. Holo pattern from Fire Red Leaf Green is very, very nice. I love this card. It's considered a secret rare, and I think it's the first Cracked Ice holo of all time. Not positive on that, but pretty sure. And we'll see that it has Legendary Ascent and Cold Crush here as its attacks. And when we switch over to looking at the new Articuno, we see that it still has Legendary Ascent as its ability, but now Cold Crush is actually a GX attack, and they've added a normal attacking move in there. So it is an inspired reprint, where it is not the exact same, but they've updated it to make it work in the modern format. At least modern at the time of Celestial Storm coming out. Alright, let's talk about this funky fella, Mr. Mime. I told you I'd bring him back. So Mr. Mime, you'll see, has an ability called Magic Evens, which prevents all damage done by attacks that are exactly 20, 40, 60, 80, or any even number of damage. This is a reprint of a card from Fire Red Leaf Green. The same Mr. Mime... Oh, let's steady that camera. Mr. Mime also had Magic Evens, though it only went up to 180 damage, because at the time, I don't think they expected damage to get as high as it is now. So this one only ends at 180. However, this Mr. Mime, instead of facing forward, is facing to the left over here. So that must mean that he's got a best friend, Mr. Mime from Fire Red Leaf Green, with magic odds facing to the right. So aside from the really cool swirl up here, as you can probably guess, this guy can't be damaged by an attack that has an odd amount of damage. So together, 2 Mr. Mimes in the same set, one covering evens, one covering odds. And as a result of the reprint, we still get to see Magic Evens, but they did not reprint Magic Odds. Alright, so let me throw this back in the binder. I'm going to pull out the Rayquaza, mostly because Rayquaza is a fan favorite. People love Rayquaza, and I can definitely see why. Scary Danger Noodle, I can really appreciate that. All right, the background color for Dragon type full arts was not used very often, so this is actually a very unique and interesting color to use. All right, Lisia, one of the most expensive cards in the set, I think $250-ish. And instead, I'm going to pull out Apricorn Maker. I really, really like that they gave a reprint, or I should say, a full art makeover reprint of a very, very old card. I really, really, really appreciate this kind of thing. I'm a huge fan of nostalgia, and I will never not be. So pulling cards out of a Skyridge pack and then getting to see their inspiration again in modern times is very fun to me. All right, fine, you convinced me. I'll pull out the Lisia for you. Very sought after card, as no one is surprised by. Full art female trainers fetch a very pretty penny in the Pokemon collector universe. Some people love full art trainers, some people love waifus, some people just like collecting female trainers. All right, so next big reveal is a mini reveal. This Rayquaza is stupid expensive as well. This Rayquaza, the rainbow one, has some very cool textures on the back and is a very sought after card. One of the most expensive of the set as well. Again, Rainbow Danger Noodle. What are you going to do about it? All right, Acrobike. Never underestimate any card that has a bicycle on it in terms of playing the TCG. If a new set comes out and there's a bicycle on a card, consider getting as many copies of as you can. Acrobike, bicycle, all sorts of bike cards keep being good forever. So that's how it goes. Rainbow Energy I think looks quite striking in gold as well. I won't bother pulling out the other energy, but there you go. All right, so now we'll take a quick flip through the reverses. I still really like the Sun and Moon era reverse holos. Some very cool cards in here. An obvious lack of EXs and full arts, but no one is surprised by that at this point. And just a fun set to flip through. All right, so as we get to the end of the set here, it's a Wishlist Wednesday, and I haven't even mentioned what we're missing. Some of you probably noticed, but in case you didn't, I will flip back and make sure you guys get to see. So we go all the way back into the fancy section, and I was so busy talking about these guys, I didn't mention this. Full Art Caesar from Celestial Storm is the only card we're missing. This card it's so interesting that we don't own this card because we opened 3 cases of this set. We pulled 4 copies of this Tate and Liza. We pulled 3 Lisias. We pulled 4 copycats. We pulled 0 of the Caesar. How does this happen? Just despite gaming the system as much as you can by buying many boxes and cases, you still don't end up with just the random full art. All right, so I'll leave it on this glorious page. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pretend that that's filled in. I'll put an Articuno there. What's your favorite card in this set? Is it the Articuno from Fire Red Leaf Green? What's your favorite callback card from this set, if you were playing long enough to know? Or do you have a card that you really liked from this set that you later found out was a callback and you really appreciate it? Let me know in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to be around for next Monday, week 5 of Master Set Monday. Who knows what shenanigans we'll get into there. All right. Thanks for watching.